Hello guys, how's it going? My name is TJ and I'd like to welcome you to this very special flight today. It is special because it will be the first out of 6 flights which will get us around the globe exactly once. And we are going to embark on this very cool journey in this beauty of an aircraft, the 747-8 in the CargoLux livery. And yes, I'm very excited to finally get started on this project. I've been looking quite a while for a route that I could possibly operate which would get us around the world in one airframe. And the thing is that quite some cargo operators do these sort of routings around the world. However, most of the airports which they are using are really hard to get in the sim. And now I finally found this route, which will take us from Luxembourg down to Singapore, which will also be the longest flight in this schedule. Then from Singapore over to Hong Kong, only a short 3-hour flight. Then from Hong Kong over to Chicago with a refueling stopover in Anchorage. From Chicago then we will go to Milan, which is sort of the second base of CargoLux. And from Milan on a very short flight back to Luxembourg. So this will be our routing, and in order to make this as realistic as possible, I will always save the panel configs once we are on the ground, and then also do sort of a realistic turnaround, which I will of course not record in full. That would be a bit too boring for you guys probably. Yeah, but I will do the turnaround and then head on to the next flight, and then hopefully we'll get yeah, sort of 6 flights which are as close to reality as possible. And I'm very glad that you guys joined me on this beautiful project, and I hope you will enjoy it. As always, feel free to leave comments below in case I can improve anything in my flying skills, or maybe even if you find other possible routes which we could operate in the future. That would be very cool. With that, I hope you enjoy, and now we will get started on the actual flight today. So starting off with the first flight of this tour from Luxembourg down to Singapore, let's have a look at the flight plan for today. We are operating CargoLux 7306 on the 4th of July, which is a Saturday, from Luxembourg to Singapore in the 747-8 freighter. Cost index is 60. I have estimated this to be a realistic cost index for CargoLux, so we will use this cost index for all of those flights. Today we will have a tiny bit of tailwind, not too much though. Flight time of 11 hours and 42 minutes, so a very long flight. Alternate will be Malacca, which yeah, probably Kuala Lumpur would be a more suitable alternate for CargoLux, but never mind. Flight time of 45 minutes and block fuel of 145.5 tons. Zero fuel weight, 281.5. We are not maxed out in terms of zero fuel weight due to it being a very long route, and we couldn't carry full fuel and full load basically. Takeoff weight 426.6, so only about 20 tons shy of max takeoff weight, super heavy today. And we will start at flight level 310 and then see where it takes us later on. In terms of timing, so scheduled departure is 10 o'clock Zulu, which is 12 o'clock local time. We will be a bit late on departure, but that's fine. The real world flight departed out of Luxembourg at 1:30 p.m. I believe, so we have plenty of time, and then we will get to Singapore at 21:52 Zulu, which is very early morning time, 6 o'clock in the morning. So I'm hoping for a little bit of sunrise there. However, I think we might be too early for that. Let's see how fast we get out of Luxembourg now. To make this entire trip a bit more realistic, I will also store the panel configs once we are on the ground. And then I will also do some realistic turnaround operations, which I will of course not record entirely. That would probably be a bit too boring for you guys, but I will yeah, maybe sort of put together a short clip of the turnaround, and thus we should get a pretty good feeling of turning the aircraft around, and then it will hopefully feel like one entire trip. Alright, that being said, I can see that GSX is already done with the boarding, so it's once again faster than I am. And I will meet you guys in the cockpit. So here we are. I have loaded in the A cars and also the load and the payload and the fuel of the aircraft. Also I've loaded in the route, since this always takes a little bit of time, and we can head straight to performance in it. And well, this is also uploaded already, so we can see 0 fuel 281.5, reserves 12.1, cost index 60, flight level 310, so basically everything we have discussed before. We can accept this straight away. And doors, let's get, I think we can close all basically. Makes it a bit easier for us. Okay, other than that, departure, we are out of runway 24 today. We will do the calculations in a second. Departure routing will be the ESMO for Zulu. We can execute this, and that's pretty straightforward. We will climb out on runway heading 238 until we get 8 miles from VOR Luxembourg, and then turn right until we get to VOR Diekirch, and then ASMOX, where we want to be above flight level 80. We can check the altitude, the expected, in just a second after we have loaded in everything else. In terms of winds, I still need to load in those. And over here, maybe we can go to the FMC progress page and see where we are in terms of fuel. So 23.3, that looks good to me. In the meantime, let's get the APU fired up. And well, yeah, calculations, performance. We are of course super heavy today. Let's see how we are doing here. I will open up active sky as well. Luckily the weather looks quite good. Okay, so Luxembourg runway 24, conditions are dry, winds are 220 at 14, so that will help us a bit on getting to the V speeds. Outside air temperature 18, it's 19 on active sky. 1019, that's correct. Thrust rating, we will definitely need takeoff thrust today. Flaps 20, aircon will be off, anti-ice will be off. And then the center of gravity, quickly checking, 22. So this goes in there, calculate. And there we are, selected temperature 44. So thrust limits 44, and then takeoff flap 20. And that's 154, 67, 75. 154, 67, 75. And there we are. Alright, transition altitude is 4,500. And then we can set up our MCP, which is V2 of 175. Initial heading of 238. And initial climb clearance is only 4,000 at Luxembourg, so we will get there rather fast, I assume. Flight directors, LNAV, VNAV, perfect. Okay, and now the nose door is still open. And I believe that's due to the fact that I have the nose loader release. And there we go. And now we can also close the nose cargo door. And in terms of checklist, yes, oxygen. This test is 100%. Flight instruments 058 at altimeters 1019. That's checked. Park and brake is set, and pre-flight checklist is completed. Okay, so the nose cargo door is about to close now. I didn't look outside. Well, a little bit of clouds, but nothing too bad really. There's a bit of traffic back there, 747 taxiing. But we should be fine to get the pushback going, I believe. So we can request this. And then we can put the APU on and release us from the ground power. Ground connections, release and remove. And the before start checklist passenger signs are on. Never know who's on this plane. MCP is set at V2 175, heading 238, altitude 4000. Takeoff speeds 154, 167, 175. CD preflight is completed. Trim is set at 6.0 units and 0 and 0. And it should be 6.8. I believe I need to start the hydraulics before I can set the trim, if I'm not mistaken. It doesn't work yet. Okay, so we will do this in a second. Taxi and takeoff briefing, where we've done the takeoff. Taxi is super short really. We are very close to the runway already. And the beacons go on now. And the before start checklist is completed. And also we can put all the fuel pumps on. We certainly have something in the center tank as well. Window heats, packs can stay off now. Hydraulic panel is set. And I believe everything else should be according to plan. Okay, so releasing the parking brakes. And we can proceed with the engine start straight away. So packs are off, starting 3 and 4. And since we are on the 747-8, we have the auto start, of course. And we can see the engines firing up. Also, this particular aircraft carries the 45 years of CargoLux sign on here. This aircraft is around 6 years old, delivered in 2014, and that was, well, in 2015 they celebrated 45 years. And starting 2 and 1, same procedure. In the meantime, VORs, traffic, weather and terrain, both super boring today here. But I will put the terrain over here. Airport, and then we should have the airport map as well. Yes, there it is. Perfect. So taxi super short just out here, and then we go left on Alpha, and then we simply take Alpha 2 to runway 24. So yeah, super short taxi today. Yes, I just remembered I want to double check where we are here. So we need to be above 8,000 parking brakes. And we can check this by simply deleting it for just a second. And then giving it time to load, and we are expected at flight level 161. So that's perfect. Erase. Easy, so we will easily get there. Okay, I believe engines are running, so those go to auto, and then those as well. Packs go on for just a bit. We will put them off before takeoff, and APU goes off. And let's confirm the good engine start. Yes, we can complete the before taxi checklist. Anti-ice is off. Certainly don't need that today recall is checked, all brakes, RTO, flight controls. This is another 7478, it's probably turning in here. Anyhow, full left, full right, neutral, full up, full down, neutral, and rudder, full left, and full right, neutral. Let's check and ground equipment. Yeah, it's clear. We will get the sign in just a second, and it's completed. And flaps go to 20. And it looks like he's waiting for us to taxi out, although he's standing a little bit close anyhow. Okay, GSX says have a good trip. We will hopefully have this, and taxi lights gone. And brakes released, and off we go. Probably need quite a bit of power to get us rolling today. Seems like there's, I don't know, that was the other 747, sorry. I thought it was in our parking spot already, but it's not. Okay, transponder, I believe I can already put it to TARA, so we can see if there's any traffic incoming. So we will probably clip our wingtip on this guy, so let's rather not look this way, instead let's focus on where we want to go. It looks like it's getting a little bit more cloudy now even, but that's still fine. It's only light clouds, I believe and there would be nothing on the radar. Okay, let's see if there's any traffic on final, anything on the radar. That doesn't seem like it. This is set properly. This is set to weather before takeoff checklist is completed. Oops, I should focus on the taxiing. Seems like there's just a little bit of an elevation glitch down there. Okay, and since there is no traffic, we can taxi straight onto the runway and put ourselves in takeoff config. So those go on and strobes go on, and yeah, packs off for this departure. I think it's quite realistic in a cargo aircraft anyway to switch the packs off, and we will do that. Okay, so now it's 10:33 Zulu, so we are half an hour late, but that's perfectly fine. We will check our estimated arrival time when we are up in the air, and with that, let's get going on this 11.5-hour flight, which will only be the first of a series of 6 flights, Toga, which will take us around the world, and then after 6 flights we shall be back at exactly this same airport here. So let's hope for a good one, and I'm just remembering the trim 6.8. Now it's at just in time. Sorry, I was a bit late on that.
80 knots.
Okay, let's see how much runway we need. Apparently the wind is not exactly as we have planned for. It's rather from this side. It seems that we will be fine.
Rotate.
Let's VR, rotate.
Me too.
Slowly keeping it at 10 degrees and we are airborne. Gears coming up. Look at this beautiful stuff. It's a super heavy takeoff today. It seems like the aircraft is handling it rather well. Seems like we have plenty of power even. It's good. It's getting a little bit bumpy, but that's just minor turbulences, so all good. Now we can speed up, and also the power is coming back to flying power. And let's put the packs back on. You never know what we are carrying. Maybe some pharmaceutical stuff which needs cooling. Now I can feel how heavy the aircraft is. We are barely speeding up and barely climbing at the same time. Okay, flaps 10. We are closing in on 4,000 already. Okay, let's assume we are cleared to cruise level. There we are. And it's right-hand turn. Flaps 5. A bit of an engine shake there as well. That's one. So yeah, but that seemed like a pretty successful departure out of Luxembourg so far. And now we will be on a very long flight, 11.5 hours. I believe we'll hit the sunset somewhere over the Middle East, probably like, I don't know which countries exactly we are crossing, like Pakistan or something like there. And then, as already mentioned, I hope to get a little bit of sunrise in Singapore. But if not, we will definitely see it during the turnaround. And then the next flight to Hong Kong will be a daylight flight. Okay, so that was a good stretch of manual flying. Let's put the autopilot on, go to standard, and the after takeoff checklist is completed already. Perfect. Okay, so estimated time of arrival 22:03, that would be 6:03 local time, and that is just 10 minutes past our scheduled arrival time, so our half an hour delay didn't hurt us much really. And yeah, we will have an on-time arrival into Singapore most likely. Okay guys, and now we have completed this takeoff. I hope you guys have enjoyed it, and I will provide you with some nice scenics right now, and then I will see you back in, well, for you guys like 3 minutes, for me like 11 hours, when we are getting closer to Singapore. Enjoy! So, hello folks, welcome back to the flight deck. We are finally getting close to Singapore, and that's after a very long cruise. Flight time is approaching 11.5 hours now, so yeah, rather a serious long haul we are doing here today. Anyhow, now we are getting close to Singapore. Unfortunately, it's still super dark outside. I was hoping for a little bit of a sunrise, but apparently that's not going to happen. The sun will probably come up just a couple of minutes after we are down on the ground. So yes, it will be nighttime landing, which is also fine, and it should be good into Singapore. The scenery in use today is the ImagineSim Singapore, so it's a pretty high quality scenery. Also with some city buildings and stuff like this, so we should have a rather nice nighttime landing here. Yes, I have prepared a little bit for the landing already. So you can see the descent checklist. I have checked all of those, but we can briefly talk about a few of them. So we are today on the ELLX 3 Bravo arrival, which we have just passed the first waypoint, which is Arama, where we want to be at 250. That's why we are slow already given the altitude. And then yes, well, we keep following the star until we get to waypoint Vidos, where we want to be above 3000 and at 190 knots, which will be this one. And then you can see there's a bit of a discontinuity, but that's on purpose, so we will sort of vector ourselves into the final, and then we will be in for an ILS landing runway 20 right. The 20s are in use today, so 20 right and 20 center. Weather is as entered here, so winds 160 at 5. It's super warm as always in Singapore. And yes, I have scheduled ourselves for an auto brake 2 landing, which looks quite tight here. I'm not sure why it gives the landing distance available with 10,700, because the runway is longer than that, and it's actually 13,000. So here it's correct, over here it's not, for whatever reason, I don't know. But that's the real length, so we should be very fine with the auto brake 2. Final approach speed 151 plus 5 will be 156. Minimums 210 barrel. That's dialed in, and 1009 is also pre-dialed here. Transition level is 13,000. Sorry, 13,000 of course. And yes, so this is all completed. In the meantime, I believe it's now time to put the seatbelt signs back on. And yeah, there's a bit of weather over there, but not over the airport. That's good. There has been quite a lot of weather over the Indian Ocean, which I had to struggle with, and I figured out that Active Sky and True Sky are not working well together yet. So in the like during the cruise, I've switched over to the normal weather, let's call it this. So at least not the active, the True Sky. And then the weather depiction is a bit better, but also not great. And yeah, now we are back to True Sky, but it anyway does not make much of a difference here today. Alright, in terms of the final approach, so as already mentioned, 20 right ILS approach, which will be a 3-degree glide slope, pretty standard. And also there's a small note on here saying we should be 180 knots until we get 8 miles from touchdown, and thereafter 150 knots until we get 4 miles from touchdown. Of course, we're not going to go down to 150 when our approach speed will be 156. We will of course do 156 instead. And in terms of a missed approach, we simply climb straight ahead until we get to altitude 5,000. And when we are crossing the radial 146 into VOR Sierra Juliet, which is there, then we do a slight left-hand turn, and then we will be holding at waypoint Samco. And I have set this VOR on here also with the radial 146, so when we need to go around, once we hit the green line, we do a very slight left-hand turn only, and then we will be holding at this waypoint over there.
Altimeter setting.
Yes, we are closing in on 13,000, which is good, so I can go to local. And we can complete the approach checklist. That's done. And yes, other than that, I believe we are pretty well prepared for landing. The only thing we really have to look out for is AI traffic. I have checked an AI companion. There are some other aircraft which are scheduled to land at around the same time. Why is it still calling altimeter setting? Probably it's a little bit off. 1008. Okay, that's fine. Yeah, so there might be some traffic, but since we anyway need to vector ourselves here, we can keep an eye out for traffic and eventually do a little bit of a detour. Yes, so that all being said, I believe I will meet you down when we get close to the final approach. So now we are getting closer to waypoint Vidos, and I have just noticed that probably my voice was not loud enough for the last hour of video or so, so I hope it's a little bit better now for you guys, and I hope it's not too bad for the other parts of the video. Anyhow, yeah, there's some traffic ahead, but that's climbing, so we don't have to worry about this one. And also I will go flap 1 now, since our target speed for the next waypoint is 190, so we can help the aircraft slow down a bit here. And then it seems, other than that, there's no traffic around here anywhere, so we can easily turn on the final approach as we have planned. And now that's a bit interesting, since we want to be at 190, but it seems like the aircraft does not necessarily want to descend past this. Let's go ahead and select to stay for this course for a bit. And I think I will manually adjust this to, yeah, let's do it accurate. Let's go down to 190, and then we should be on the safe side. And we can go flap 5. Discontinuity, yeah, that's for sure, but that's fine. And I think what we can do is do a right-hand turn and then probably dial in direct EULA. That would be totally fine. Yeah, maybe now it's a good point in time to do that. So here we go. And then we will do LNAV and flight level change, so we get down to 3,500. Okay, now we are about 18 miles from the runway, and going back to the charts, we want to be at speed 180 until we get to 8 miles. So that's what we will do in just a second. I'm not sure what's going on with the navigation display here, a bit of flicker. And now this will go to 203. In case we need to go around, then we have the heading dialed in already. Bit of a leg spike, that's maybe some scenery loading in. Okay, and then I will go flap 10 and speed 180 as according to the charts. And just double checking, approach speed 156 will be the final one. Okay, and now we can arm the localizer, and we're looking pretty stable here, until now at least. And we can arm the speed brakes. Still can't see the airport anyway down there, it's probably behind some clouds or something like that. Very dark out there. And the localizer is coming in, so it should be any second now. And glide slope as well. Okay, localizer and arm approach mode. And that's the glide slope. And then we can put those two on. Turn offs, text lights. Oh, they have been on, it seems. Okay, and this will go to 5,000. And now I can see a little bit of the runway down there. Oh, these altimeter settings are so annoying. Okay, and we should probably put the dome light off for the landing. Yeah, that looks a bit better. Okay, and once we get to 8 miles, now we're at 9.6, we will go down to 1.56. And then we can also drop the gear and go flap 20. Okay, now we're getting close to 8 miles. So 1.56. Flap 20 and gear down. It's a little bit shaky now, not too bad, but a tiny bit. And flaps full. And the landing checklist, speed brakes are set, landing gear is down, and flaps are about to come down to 30. There we are. And so I can go ahead and take the aircraft. Okay, and it's my aircraft. Let's hope we have a good landing now. Looks like there's quite a bit of traffic down there. But luckily it seems like there's no traffic taxiing for the runway or anything. So we should be good.
Approaching 20.
Right now I don't have any wind indication on the navigation display, so completely calm just now.
Approaching minimums. Minimums.
Continue.
Caution, taxiway. Caution, taxiway.
Okay, that's a bit weird. Runway is clearly in sight.
50, 40, 30, 20, 10.
A little bit of a hard landing here. But that's okay, we are safely on the ground. Okay, and idle forward manual braking. Alright guys, that wasn't too bad. A little bit of a hard landing, but still easily within the limits. Nothing too bad. Okay, and we will exit to the left here, and now I need to look at the airport charts. And that will be Whiskey 7, and then we will have a left-hand turn and taxi down on Whiskey. Alrighty, flight directors, flaps. Okay, I think I will complete this turn now first and then take care of the cleanup. Okay, so there's quite a bit of traffic on the ground. It was just a little bit empty in the air. Okay, transponder, and then the landing lights, turn-offs, taxi stay on, strobes go off, APU goes on. And then the VORs, traffic, weather, and VORs, traffic and terrain goes off. That's done. And auto brake goes back to off. Okay, now in terms of parking, we will be at the West Cargo Apron. Yes, it's the West Cargo Apron. And I wanted to have 509, but apparently that's occupied. Okay, maybe I just will dial down traffic a tiny bit. Anyhow, I will meet you down at the parking. Alright, so we are close to our parking position 509 now. I have quite simply dialed down a bit of AI traffic. I know that CargoLux parks its flight at the West Cargo Apron, so I kind of wanted to get a spot there to be in line with the real world operations. And so yeah, anyhow, it's according to the current situation with Corona. Not too much traffic out there, and I've dialed it up to, or it was up at 100% earlier, so now it's probably more realistic even. And also I've switched on the logo lights for just the looks of it, of course. Yeah, and that's 508, and then 509 will be just after. Now we can put the APU to work. Okay, and GSX is waiting for us, that's perfect. So we'll be just the last turn now, and then we have completed the longest of those 6 flights. And since I can't even see a marshaller, I will get the outside view to get a good parking here. And now we also get the beautiful dynamic lighting on the fuselage. There was just a few days ago an update of the scenery with new dynamic lighting, so that's probably helping a lot now. 747 is the last one. There we are. Parking brake, cutting the engines. And fuel pumps go off. Now the cockpit looks a little bit weird. That's due to the dynamic lighting from outside. Taxi lights, beacons, those go to aux for the moment. Those go off. And then we can there's actions, ground connections, set and request. And then we can release the parking brake and put all of them off. Now this one goes off, and I will leave this one disconnected straight away. We will need it for the nose and side cargo door. And yeah, everything else is looking good. Seatbelts, of course. And the shutdown checklist is done. Parking brakes are released. That's done. Secure checklist. Yes, I think we will have around a 2-hour stopover, so it might be realistic to secure the aircraft, although I'm not too sure about it. Emergency lights and PEX. And then we just need to make sure to get the ground air conditioning. All right, and then we can ask for some deboarding. All right, GSX is coming in, so we need to open some doors. Open entry 1, side cargo, nose cargo, after cargo, forward cargo, and then I will also ask for the nose loader. Alright, looking quite good, everything is working. Welcome once again to Singapore after this very long flight, 11.5 hours, even a bit more. As discussed earlier, I will save the panel config, and then I will, for the next flight over to Hong Kong, I will save the panel state and do a realistic turn around with refueling the aircraft, reloading, and then we'll be off to Hong Kong, which will be much shorter, only a 3-hour flight, and this will be in daytime. I expect the sun to rise any second now, really. And yes, I hope you have enjoyed this flight. Thank you very much for tuning in, and hope to see you again on the next leg over to Hong Kong. Take care.